Welcome into the Pats Nation. I'm Corso. There's Catone. He's here. Of course, you're always here, Mark, right?
Well, who else would be here?
Yeah. Nobody worth listening to, that's for sure. And, of course, Joe is with us in the booth. You're watching us on YouTube. Hey, listen, when you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe like Joe's showing on the screen right now. Give us that thumbs up. Get all our notifications so you never, ever miss a show. And also check out our shorts on YouTube. They're pretty funny things to watch. So make sure you're doing that. And you can hear us on 790 The Score, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and so on. Give us a call and Heated Hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Message line, 24/7. Have a take, keep it clean, and we'll play it. Or you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. And we're on X too, isn't it? X, Joe? Isn't that?
Yeah, we're on everything.
We're on X, yes.
X. Joe can give you that information on X. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So, he can give you that at some point. But we have a good one. Not too many segments today, but packed full of stuff. Coaches.
No football today.
No. Yeah, no football today. It sucks.
No football today. That sucks.
I'm going to watch replays of different games.
Really? Replays of 70 shows or
reruns?
Reruns.
Yeah. So, and we're going to go back to the old days so you can feel good about it. And of course,
I'm going to watch the AFC Championship game when we went into Arrowhead and beat them.
Yeah, the only team
That's
that can.
Watch
the only team that could. So listen into Coach's Corner. We're going to have a lot to talk about there. And, of course, Heated Hotline. We're going to hear from one of you. And Weekly Rewind. We're going to talk. Well, it's all Patriots all the time, Mark. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I just,
Good morning,
actually,
good morning.
What are you, Mr. Rogers? You sound like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I just changed my shoes.
Yeah, welcome to the neighborhood.
How are you doing this morning, Joe? You're
it's another delirious Sunday morning.
Good.
Here we go.
Well, everybody, get your Bloody Marys ready, get your mimosas ready, whatever the hell Mark's drinking every morning, and let's get to Coach's Corner, Joe.
Coach's Corner.
Oh!
Just a teaser taster because we still got some coaches that haven't been named yet.
I like that.
So this is the first week Joe has changed that wash. If you get on YouTube and watch, which you all should be, you can see the new wash, that little thing that goes back and forth that has all the new – before it was all the other guys, Mayo and whoever the hell, Pelt.
We still didn't know who the hell they were at the end of the season.
The guy with the big high hair, the kid who play haircut.
I don't know who he was.
Anyway.
No idea.
So, all right. Let's talk about the coaches. Let's talk about the offensive coaches. Yesterday in Corso and Catone, we talked about some of this stuff. Today, we're going to go in more depth on this. Also going to break down those games later on, too, so stick around. So, here are the offensive staff, the major players. Josh McDaniels, of course. Ashton Grant, quarterbacks coach. Thomas Brown, passing game coordinator, tight ends. Also head coaching experience for Chicago. Doug Marrone, offensive line, I assume. It hasn't been named, but offensive line. A lot of head coaching experience there. Tony Dews for running backs. And Riley Larkin is an offensive assistant, Mark. What do you think of this collection of talent?
It's like the tale of two cities, right? You have McDaniels, and then you have these guys that Vrabel has a relationship with a bunch of these guys, or he's had connections to these guys. Yeah. I guess you could say he had connections to obviously the McDaniels too. McDaniels was here when Vrabel was playing here, but as far as his coaching career goes, these guys Vrabel's had some experience with. So that's one piece that I think is going to be a little bit interesting. And the other thing is, Chris, a lot of these guys like Brown and Marrone and the quarterbacks coach, they have West Coast experience, Chris, and West Coast offenses. So they've got a little bit of different take than McDaniels does, because they all come from that premise. And Marrone ran the basic West Coast premises when he was at Jacksonville as the head coach. So that's a little interesting, Chris, that, you and I were discussing last week. Well, is McDaniels going to bring the old Patriot Brady playbook with him, or is he going to change, convert, It's 2025. Well, some of these guys that Vrabel's brought in, Chris, they're more 2025 because they're used to a lot of those West Coast principles.
So then you're right. A lot of that zone run stuff, a lot of that, some play action stuff, some under center stuff, the stuff that you saw sort of last year with Van Pelt.
A little
only
bit,
a little bit on steroids,
Yep.
which we don't encourage anybody to take. But
No,
anyway,
no.
so but it begs the question, how flexible is McDaniels going to be? Is he going to come to the middle on all of this? Now, they talk about this vision, this shared vision that they all have, or that Vrabel, of course, has. Now, or is this another example of how McDaniels was forced on? I mentioned this yesterday, was forced on Vrabel, that the Krafts wanted McDaniels, but now he's bringing in his guys as basically to say, this guy is on a clock here. If McDaniels doesn't do his job next year, we replace him with one of these guys. If they don't like what he's doing, what do you think?
I said this yesterday on the show, Chris. I think that's a very interesting take, something I haven't heard all week since we've heard who these coaches are. So that's very interesting. And when you brought it up, I really thought about it. And you could be right with that analysis, Chris.
Because these are heavy hitters, these guys.
Oh, yeah, these are heavy hitters. These aren't lightweight. So listen, the more I thought about it, I'm like, Jesus, you know what? You could very well be right. If the offense struggles, even if they win more games than they did last year, but May's just not comfortable, yeah, you could see Vrabel say, okay, Bob, listen, I did it your way. I brought him in. I got to pull a trigger. I got to make one of my guys here the OC now. And I have to assume Kraft would be okay with that because he gave, if McDaniels was forced out. Interesting this week, Chris, it also comes out that Vrabel interviewed Eric Bieniemy, who was Andy Reid's OC. And the rumor is if Vrabel didn't like what he heard from McDaniels, Bieniemy was going to be one of his top choices. Now, I think the luster has come off Bieniemy because as he's gone other places since leaving Kansas City, he's kind of fell flat on his face because what we talked about last week with all those bright, young, shiny pennies that you like, none of them have ever called plays. Neither did Bieniemy because it was Andy Reid's team, Andy Reid's play calling, right? So now Bieniemy went on his own and he couldn't do it, Chris.
What the hell are you talking about? Wait, Joe, did you hear him throw that by like really quick? That those bright, shiny pennies that you like, he says. Meaning me. Are you kidding? Do we gonna have this fight again? Mr. Ben Johnson, and I want a West Coast guy, and I want a Rams guy, a Detroit guy. Now all of a sudden, what? You're in the Josh McDaniels family now? What are you taking a cut of the pay? You own stock in the Josh McDaniels new candy pot chain? What is this over here? Anyway,
I'm a diabetic. I can't eat candy bars.
Yeah. You know what? I like 5 minutes for rebuttal. I've seen you put away, okay, Mr. I've seen you, Mike and Ike's and every other damn thing he likes. Please. So anyway, yeah, Mark. Listen, what I like.
No, but my point is, Chris, it didn't come out that he interviewed guys like Bieniemy.
No, I mean, I don't think he was going to choose. I haven't made it secret. I don't think he was going to choose McDaniels. I don't think this was going to be his choice. Now, McDaniels, obviously, I think it's two things are true. I think Kraft may have said to Vrabel, "Hey, look, we like this guy. We're comfortable with this guy. Give him a shot or talk to him." So then they sit down and he hears it's ultimately Vrabel's decision, but he hears the things he wants to hear about the shared vision. And we played it last week when McDaniels was on Edelman's podcast, and he basically was talking about Drake May, about the buckets. I don't give him too much that he can't handle, the shared vision, all this stuff that months later you heard Vrabel talking about.
Yeah.
So, look, these are good coaches. I mean, the difference between last year and the difference between the last 3 years and this year. I mean, look at what you had. You had in 22, Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien, Alex Van Pelt. These were the OCs. Adrian, offensive line coach, Brasillo, Patricia, Clem, Yates, Scott Peter. I mean, so what we have now?
Yeah, this is a
night and day.
Listen, night and day. And you know what else is interesting, Chris? These are Vrabel's hires. Last year, Mayo didn't have connections to anybody. He had no, for lack of I'm going to show my age. He had no Rolodex. Nobody uses a Rolodex anymore, do they? But he had no Rolodex. He couldn't go through. And who was he calling? He had nobody to call, Chris. Elliot Wolf had to call his connections to fill out the coaching staff.
Rolodex. You are a friggin' dinosaur. Anyway. No, he didn't. He didn't have anybody. No, he had nobody. There was no well to go to. So when Nick Caley didn't want to be bothered with them,
he had nobody else to reach out to.
There was nobody else, and that, the little weaselly, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Elliot Wolf, who is, you know what? I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. He's going to throw everybody under the bus to save his job. So yeah, he's going to get along, talking about now the management, Elliot Wolf, Matt Groh. Elliot Wolf's going to get along with Cowden and because he knows his ass is on the line right now. So he's going to throw anybody he can under the bus. No, Mike. I was going to pick Deebo Samuel. I wanted AJ Brown, but Bill overruled me. No. Last year, Polk is a good player. The coaches sucked.
Yeah. But Chris, so this is Vrabel's staff. He picked them. This is his team. The defensive side of the ball, we're going to get into next week. He picked them. These are his guys. So he has the experience. He brought in guys that fit his vision, fit what he wants to do. And from what we understand, Chris, he wants to play fast on both sides of the ball. So
Mark, to me, this looks like, okay, Vrabel sitting there saying, a completely different outlook on last year, where Vrabel's sitting there saying, this is the kind of guy I want for this position. I want a guy that can go sideline to sideline. I want a guy that can run, that can run fit. I want this. I want a guy that can run X receiver, run this route, run that route. This is the size I would like him. I want this kind of speed. Go get him.
Yeah.
And then trust the scouting department. Trust Cam Williams. Trust who he trusts is Cowden. That's who he trusts.
Yes, he does. Yep. Yeah.
To go get those guys, right?
Yeah, he does. And he has a relationship with Cam Williams too. So he trusts, and I wouldn't be surprised, Chris, if you see Cam Williams eventually he'll be in charge of college scouting instead of Groh. Like Groh, we think Groh's going to move into like the Robin Glazier role. That's the rumor now this week, right? He's got a law background. He can help with contracts. He can do all of that stuff. Because the rumor is someday Groh would like to eventually be like a GM. So he needs to learn other parts of the job anyways. So like, I think you'll see, because Vrabel is comfortable with Cam Williams. I think Cam Williams will take that job over and be in charge of scouting, which I'm okay with that, I think, because Groh's track record sucks.
I had a lengthy conversation with Groh, and
that was when they did the they had the walkthrough right in Arizona
for the Cardinal game.
Yeah.
And he's a nice guy.
Tell us a little bit about that. Refresh our memories, because that was a while back that you had brought that up on the show.
So I was at the Patriots walkthrough the day before the Cardinal game out here, and closed practice. I was there. They were practicing at the school that I coach, and so I had the opportunity to be out there, and I was alone, and nice people, all of them. Matt Groh, they all approached me. They all walked up to me, introduced themselves. Mayo, all of them, and the special teams coach. I can't remember his name now. They retained him.
You were impressed by him too.
I was, and I also told you that they all had that concern. They all had the concern on their face. Every one of them had the appearance of this is bad. Our asses are on the line here. They knew it. Anyway,
They
Matt
knew it.
Groh, we had a conversation, and I had a couple with his assistants too about. They were asking me what I thought of McMillan and U of A. If I had any information on him, and we talked some Travis Hunter stuff, and he's a nice guy. Okay.
Mhm.
But I just don't know how they got to go. These guys have to go. Now, maybe he can handle contracts. Maybe he can do that well and all that. And again, I didn't have a long enough conversation to know how much he is a part of what went on with the previous drafts. But my understanding, he's a college guy. And
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know how you can look at Polk. I don't know how you can look at Polk instead of McConkey and have any clue as to what you're talking about. Period. End of story. Those are fireable offenses. Get the hell out. Get out. And I think Vrabel wants him out.
Oh, I think he does too. And Chris, and he loved Thornton. Remember Thornton? Never mind McConkey. Remember Thornton? He was the guy. He was the guy. You can't teach speed. Remember?
He was the guy. He was the
because
guy.
That was the draft, Chris, where I think Kraft said to Belichick, "You got to give these guys input." You know what I mean?
It was.
Because Belichick would have never taken Thornton in a million years.
That was what, like 19? Yeah, that was the draft after the Super Bowl win. Wasn't it?
No, Thornton hasn't been there that long. This is only year 3 for Thornton.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You're right. It was after that. That was Harry. Never mind.
That was Harry.
So yeah, it's the biggest question is going to be: they're all got great experience. Are there too many Chiefs in the room? Are their egos too large? Can they check it at the door? And is Vrabel the kind of guy that can stand up and say, "No, I'm in charge"?
I think he is, Chris. Listen, I think he's got a lot of Belichick and Parcells in him. That's how he coached. If you remember, Chris, on the sidelines with Houston or with Tennessee, what he, how he handled himself, how he talked to refs, what his players were like, the discipline those players played with, how he would get in guys' faces on the sidelines and chew them out. Like, you didn't see Mayo do any of that last year, Chris. None of it. He's in charge, and the players are going to know, and the coaches are going to know, I'm in charge. The buck starts with me. I'm in charge, and I'm going to run this, and we're going to do this the way I want it done. And you're going to have to fall in line. If you don't, you'll be gone. And I think that's why, Chris, the guys he's brought in on offense are his guys, because they know what he expects and they know how he wants to run things. Now, circling back to the comment you made at the beginning of the segment, was McDaniels falls down his throat because he's not one of those guys.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about what kind of players should be coming. And you're going to hear some interesting stuff from our previous shows to talk about what Mock asked for last week, which was some comments on the wide receivers. So make sure you're sticking around for Pat's preview. But Coach's Corner was presented by Corso and Catone, the Real Deal New England Field, Saturdays, noon Eastern. Hey, we got everything. We got Catone's comments. We got B's and C's. We're going to talk Yankees, Red Sox, everything. So make sure you're sticking around for that. But when we come back, going to hear from one of you in the nation in Heated Hotline. No flipping. The Real Deal New England Field. What does that mean? We're like you. We're going to bitch about everything.
My opinion, our draft, the good, the bad, it was ugly.
These people, Mark, drive me freaking insane. Bananas.
It's so frustrating and aggravating. I can't take it.
The Real Deal New England Field. It's going to be real. Oh, it's going to be real, all right. Back in. Yeah. More Pat's Nation. All right, let's hear from one of you in Heated Hotline, Joe.
You guys liked this one so much yesterday, I have to say it again.
I hate
Yo, Carson Catone, it's Paul from Providence. Well, Patriot fans, the Chiefs are getting ready to three-peat, something you never did. I know it's hard to believe another organization has created a dynasty that is on the verge of being better than yours.
They're not.
You brainwash yourselves into thinking we would never see another dynasty like the Patriots.
You won't.
Tell me when Brady three-peated. I'm sorry, he never did. Maholmes will be the GOAT Next Sunday night, he can do things Brady could only dream about doing on a football field. By the way, go Giants.
Oh my God. Go
Wow.
Giants. He stuck it right to us at the end, too, Chris, with
Yeah.
that comment.
I hate
Ah,
that
this
guy,
was
man.
a good one. This one threw me for a loop when I read it. And I was like, okay, this is going in both
And of
shows.
course, we said this yesterday. Of course, Joe had to pick this. Right?
Yep.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that guy, man.
Listen, he's sent a couple of, he's been in the mailbag before where he has sent this stuff, and I forget, but we haven't heard from him.
Oh, you're
in a while,
right.
but
You're absolutely right. He is.
Joe, he has,
Yes,
you know,
he has.
and usually it's not like this. I don't know what the hell happened to him.
It
You
was
know,
the Giants
Paul,
comment.
Paul, get a pair and call us, and we'll put you on. We'll put you on for real. We'll put you on live. You know, we'll put you on in our taping so you can, like, you know, defend yourself and all your stupid ass comments.
By the way,
So
can I just say, can I just throw this? Can we stop throwing around GOAT everywhere?
I know.
Everybody, they do a little something good. Now they're the GOAT. All of a sudden, they're the greatest of all time because they did something pretty good. It's like, stop. Let's stop with that now.
So
Yeah, that's a good
I
point,
agree.
though.
Yeah, it is a good
I agree
point.
with that.
There's
That is
only
a good
one
point,
goat.
Joe.
There's only one goat, and he's sitting right here. That's me. That's it. The goat.
Yeah, you look like a goat, baby. Jesus Christ.
So okay, Mark.
What?
Let's break a couple of those points down reluctantly.
All right.
First of all, because I want to get to the games, we might as well talk about the games in this segment. Okay.
Okay.
The championship
But
game. So
let's talk about Paul's comments, though, Chris.
yeah. Well, first, why do we hate the Chiefs so much?
I think, Chris, it's two things. First,
I mean, and I say we, meaning Patriots fans, the
right.
nation.
because Chris, it was always Belichick's the greatest of all time. Nobody can do it like Belichick. He's playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers, right? That's all we heard for 20 years. That's why he's the greatest. Well, all of a sudden, Andy Reid has got a three-peat, possibly. He'll win 4 in 6 years. He's got over 300 wins now. So is Belichick really that much of a genius and that much of a great coach when Andy Reid's doing same stuff? Now he's winning 4 out of 6. He said he's going to go until he's 70. He's going to be 67. That's 2-3 more years. He can win another 1 or 2. So does that make Andy Reid the greatest coach there ever was? Of course we feel threatened. Of course we do. But I am going to say this.
But about Belichick.
About Belichick, the fans feel threatened. All of a sudden, well, maybe wasn't the greatest. But I am going to throw in one caveat. Belichick got fired in Cleveland. Andy Reid got fired in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Andy Reid had some success in Philadelphia, but could never win the big game. Couldn't win the Super Bowl, couldn't win the big game. Comes to Kansas City, couldn't win the big game until he got Maholmes.
With Alex Smith, yeah.
Alex Smith couldn't do it. Made mistakes. Situational football, he'd screw up. Run out of timeouts at the end of a game when he needed one left in his pocket. All kind of stuff that you talk about bad coaches. That's what he did. Now all of a sudden he's got Mahomes. And Belichick had Brady, who also did some similar, same thing. Well, all of a sudden now you're a genius. Well, you got the greatest to ever do it. So there's both of those things at play in this situation. And that's why I think Patriot fans are up in arms.
But you didn't beat Belichick.
No, he did not beat Belichick.
So
or did he not beat? Oh, wait a minute.
Well, I'm going to get to that now.
Or did he not beat Brady?
You didn't. You brought up coaches. You brought up. We got to hear it. We're going to have a chapped ass because we're going to have a chapped ass because we don't want Belichick touched. Okay, we don't want that legacy of checkers, chess, all that crap. But he never beat Belichick. Okay, go to the player side of it now. Okay, so I think it's because a couple of things. One, because we made a living, Patriots fans, out of saying you're never going to see this again. You're never going to see this again. This was a statement you would always hear. You'll never see it again. All of a sudden, not even years later, boom, here we go with the Chiefs now. They're winning immediately after. So there wasn't even time to digest it, absorb it, enjoy it, gloat over it, which is what New England loves to do. There wasn't time to do any of that stuff. Now here come the Chiefs. But I will say this to you, okay, to the other point about Brady and Mahomes. Okay, so that's why I think, if you got something to add to that, because that's why I think the Patriots fans are pissed.
No, go ahead. No, I agree. I already said what I was going to say. Yeah.
Now, talking about Brady, Mahomes, and then we'll get to the games.
Never beat Brady when the money was on the line, Chris. Never beat him when the money was on the line.
No.
Brady at 42, 43, however the hell old he was, went into Arrowhead and beat him.
With nobody.
Listen, Gronk was busted up and beaten up, and he went in there and he beat him. Edelman was beaten up.
His knee was all busted up, Edelman's knee. I mean, they had nobody. 3rd and 10, 3 in a row on one drive.
The great Steve Spagnuolo, because Spagnuolo caught lightning in a bottle in 07. They thought he was going to do it to Brady again. Brady got him in Kansas City, and then Brady went to Tampa and got him again.
Right. So, Mahomes is not Brady. People, get it through your head. It's not. He's not Brady, and he's not Brady for a few reasons. Okay? I don't care. So if he wins 4, if he wins 5, he's not going to win 7. I mean, you know how tough that is to do, and you got to do it over a 20-year span. That's not going to happen either. But the bigger reason why he's not Brady, okay, is because the mind of Tom Brady and the football mind of Tom Brady will never be duplicated. It will never be replicated. You can't do it. His Monday through Saturday preparation that took him that allowed him 24 years or 23 years to play, whatever it was, can't believe that. That is not Patrick Mahomes. Sitting there basically coming up with a game plan, okay, with his OC versus taking the game plan from the OC and executing it. He came up with it. He met with coaches on Saturday night. Then he met with his players. Then he met with his quarterback. He went over 150 plays. He had an answer for every play he thought would be bad. He had an answer for everything you saw on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Okay, he did. He didn't need an OC. When I see what's going on in Kansas City, especially this year, without Andy Reid, they're not here right now. And if you know anything about football and you know anything about breakdown, which these clowns in the city don't know, break down the offensive series for them, and you tell me how those guys are open, how Mahomes is able to get them the ball. Tell me how it's happening.
Chris, I get Mahomes makes
Juju Smith-Schuster was wide open because of what Andy Reid did.
Listen, and I get Mahomes makes some good decisions, Chris. He does. I get it.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he's one of the greats,
Chris,
but not
what he did Sunday in that Buffalo game. You mean to tell me Alex Smith couldn't have made most of those throws? Guys went wide open because he schemed them to be wide open, Andy Reid?
I think so.
To your point, Chris, I don't think Mahomes had to make one difficult pass the entire game. He got lucky with the ball he threw up that should have been an interception.
I mean, I'll give him that one where he was that the game where he was falling down and he threw the ball to Kelsey?
That was the Houston game. I'll give him credit for that. I'll give him the Houston game. He made a couple of plays. He did. I'll give him credit for the Houston game. This Buffalo game, Chris, he didn't do anything. Reid, even the running plays that he ran for 2 touchdowns, those were Reid's execution, Chris. The defensive player from one of the defensive players from Buffalo this week on the play where Mahomes goes right, look, he could have threw it or ran it. He runs it in. That play was designed to go left. Everybody from Buffalo went left. That was the way the play was designed. And the defensive coordinator for Buffalo said, we didn't see that play on film the entire season. He came up with it for that game. Didn't see it on film the whole season. So was that Mahomes or Reid, Chris?
Yeah, and you know what? These guys on the radio, listen, I don't want to hear from Patriots fans. I don't want you're all homers. You're all homers. Go watch football. Go know about football. Go have some clue of a locker room, go break down some film, and then you'll see what the hell we're talking about is true. 2 things can be true. We're ridiculous Patriots fans and unreasonable. Yup, but we're not wrong here. Okay? Period. We're not wrong here, Mark, on this.
No, Paul from Providence. Paul from Providence.
does
And
say
then he loves the then he loves the Giants.
On top of it all. But he
Screw
does,
you,
On top
Paul.
of it.
he does say one thing about saying Mahomes does things on the field that Brady could only dream about. Now it's fair to say because Brady didn't have the athleticism that Mahomes has. So Mahomes makes plays, whereas Brady would break down a play and beat you in all of those terms, defense, everything. But
I will say this.
Extends plays better than most and that ever did. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Mahomes extends plays, Joe. That's 100% right, Joe. He extends plays better than any quarterback probably in the history of the game that we've seen, Chris. And he does do things off script. When Reed's plays break down, he does do things off script, Chris, better than most. I will give him credit for that. I will. But to your point, Chris, Brady could look at where a corner was lined up or angled and tap his leg to have Edelman go in motion because he wanted to see how they reacted. And then Edelman would go back in his spot. And that was designed by Brady to see what he was seeing. Mahomes isn't doing that, Chris.
Well, I mean,
if there's motion, if there's motion, Reed designed the motion so Mahomes can see what's out there. Mahomes isn't doing it to double check what he's seeing on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, here's what a pushback I'll give you, Joe, a little bit on Paul on that. Okay, is this when Brady came to the line and when he had a play, his feeling was every play is designed to succeed. Okay. If you have to roll out, if you have to extend the play, if you have to make something on a play that's breaking down, if you can't read to find an open, there's going to be an open guy in every play, just so you know. It happens. It's going to happen. All right? I mean, generally speaking. If you have to roll out and run the ball and escape and all the things you guys talked about the athleticism, that means you didn't read something right. That means you didn't set your protection well. That's what that means. So when you give credit to Josh Allen and some of these guys for taking off and running and all that, look, he gained 20 yards. That's not designed. You shouldn't be in that position. Every single play you have, you should be able to come to the line, see the defense, see what's going on, even though they get paid on the other side. If you're the greatest, if you're the GOAT, and you should be able to adjust your play to work without having to roll and extend and make something out of nothing. That's my answer to that.
I agree 100%. I'm just making the point.
Yeah, well, make your point somewhere else, Paul. Okay. Mark.
Let's get to these games from last Sunday.
Talk about the games.
Okay,
right.
Paul, go drive. Go for a drive and get an ice cream cone. Go do something with yourself.
Go move to New York with your Giants, you jerk. All right. So talk about the games, Mark. You start, whichever one you want.
Let's talk about the game. Since we're talking about Mahomes, let's talk about the Kansas City game, Chris. So everybody,
is this more Kansas City or is this more Buffalo?
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to get into. So everybody all week, Chris, listen, we're not going to get into the refereeing. We get it. We understand there were some questionable calls. The 4th and 1.
Houston got screwed. Buffalo got screwed.
Houston got screwed. Buffalo got screwed. 4th and 1. Chris and I both, we know the guy. Mahomes, Allen made the first down. We get it. Okay, fine. But let's break the game down itself. Besides that. So we both, Chris, after the game said, man, Allen wet himself in this game. Even though everybody was saying, oh, it wasn't Allen's fault that they lost. He played a great game. Well, if you really go back and look at some key situations in the game, Chris, he really didn't. Number one, he didn't play a great game. And number two, his coaches, specifically his OC, failed him in that game as well. So the McDermott and the OC, they wet themselves. So let's talk, Chris, about, first of all, I want to get to the 4th and 5 play. But before that,
I promise I won't be elongated with that.
No, I want to get to that, but let's you gotta explain
audio?
something to me.
Yeah,
we'll get to Allen in a minute. You gotta explain something to me. Why did Tony Romo keep saying, well, they keep stopping the tush push? You know, that tush push is supposed to be unstoppable. It wasn't the tush push. Please tell everybody what he was doing, Chris.
It was a quarterback sneak. That's all it was. It was a quarterback sneak. They didn't have a tight end lined up in the backfield. They didn't have a lineman lined up in the backfield where they're running a V, basically a V, where they're just a point where they're trying to just get into the center and the quarterback gets low, real low, not high, but low, and gets behind the center and the other guy pushes him from behind. No, this was quarterback sneak where Allen would take the ball, go to his left a little bit and try to find a little hole like Brady used to do sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all that was. You're right.
Chris Allen was taking a step back, moving to his left. He was giving the defensive line time to react.
Right.
And they kept running it the same way to the same side every time. So that the OC wet himself continuing to call that. And then they would rush to the line of scrimmage. So you rushing to the line of scrimmage told them, here it comes, same play. Here it comes, same thing. Yeah. They're going to try it again.
Yeah, I mean, you try one time a play fake out of that, or like to me, they didn't. The design of that, the game plan wasn't not enough design runs. Spread them out. They were getting to Allen. They were getting pressure. So spread them out. Spread that defense out. Get guys out of the middle. Force them into man coverage, which Spagnuolo loves to play, and get Allen out of the pocket. Get them running. Design runs, and you can see a lot of that.
Chris, how do you not use Cook?
And that's another thing, too. You can run the ball. Barkley may run the ball for 300 yards against this team, but we'll deal with that next week. But, yeah, Mark,
play Allen for a minute, Chris. What do you have to say about the game?
Good.
It's not fun. But to beat the champs, you gotta to be the champs, you gotta beat the champs, and we didn't do it tonight. Yeah, they gave a good look. Didn't see anything in my first cadence. They were sliding left. Corner came. Yeah, either get it done or you can't, and we didn't get it done.
Does the fact that it's been this specific team that's ended you guys this season so often add to this?
Well, they've ended a lot of team seasons too. And it's a good squad. They had a good plan tonight, and again, they made one more play than we did.
Really, Josh? Because you missed the playoffs in 18. You lost the wild card game in 19. You lost the AFC Championship in 20. Division 21, 22, 23. Lost AFC in 24. And you're 0 for 4 against the Chiefs. So they had a lot of seasons. They didn't have the Patriots.
No. Chris, listen. He talks about the 4th and 5 play. When he talks about, they were going left.
That's the 4th and 5, yeah, the corner blitz.
4th and 5. He says they were going left. He said, on my first cadence, I didn't see anything. Talking about the blitz. He said,
well, you can, because you'll do a much shorter version than me of
no. So this is your expertise. You do defense and offense. So he said he didn't see anything in his first cadence when he looked. So talk about, Chris, quickly, what the Chiefs were in defensively and what Allen missed, because this was that play. Tony Romo said, "Oh, what a great disguise that was by Spagnuolo." No, it wasn't. What exotic look, he said. Explain, Chris, what happened.
It ended up being man coverage, but it was a cover 2 look. They had 2 safeties over the top. Buffalo had 4 receivers to one side, 1 receiver to the other side. The 1 receiver side is where the corner came from. Okay. So they made it look like cover 2. They had 5 defensive backs. Everybody else was on the line of scrimmage, given a blitz look. Okay. And when Allen saw the two deep safeties and decided this is cover 2, this is going to be zone, or at least zone on one half of the field and a solo man coverage with the corner on the corner that came off the blitz. Maybe that's what he saw. But what I saw when I was looking at it, and you and I talked about this while it was happening, I saw an inside technique off that corner. He was lined up inside on a slot, basically, receiver, which tells me 2 things. 1, he's in man coverage, or 2, he's coming. He's coming off the edge. Because if he's in man coverage, what's the high safety doing back there? You're not doubling him. You're not worried about that. So something's up with that corner. That's my read. So if that corner is inside leverage on that man on the one single side, first of all, I got 4 receivers on the other side, so I know I'm going to have to, those 4 defensive backs going to deal with him. That's the guy I want to go to. That's the guy I want to go to, whether it's a blitz or not. because he's one-on-one, single coverage. Now he decides to come off the edge and leaves that wide receiver. The wide receiver runs an immediate slant, which means to me the receiver had an idea that corner was going to go, and he ran that quick slant. And maybe it was designed.
Which was basically, Chris, a hot read, though, you think?
To me, that's what it turns into. So as soon as that dude comes off the edge, Allen should be taking one step and hitting that slant. Immediately hitting that slant.
And they would have had a first
I did not
down,
see
Chris,
that.
because there was nothing in the middle.
Nobody, no, because you had the guys that were down came. They came on the blitz. Nobody was dropped.
And the two over
Nobody
the top,
dropped. It was man coverage.
Yeah, it ended up being man coverage. All right, yeah.
It ended up being man coverage. That safety came down and covered the slant, but there was a lot of gap between that slant and where that safety was.
If you get him the ball in the quick read, Chris, he gets the first down.
He gets the first down or more. So that's what happened on that. Talk about you want to talk about Philly real quick?
Yeah, so the Philly game, Chris. So, I know you were a little disgusted because of course you lost your pet because, Washington, and just listen.
It was them and the over on their own.
I said Philly wins by double digits. I said it. I called it. Listen, but
kudos to you, man.
Yeah,
and they lost money.
Yeah. Listen, but Philadelphia, Chris.
Yes.
Obviously, Barkley's been running like crazy. And the thing with Philly, Chris, is this. If you decide you're going to take Barkley out of the game, and Washington did try this after the opening run, after he ran that opening possession for a touchdown, they did try to bring guys in the box. But you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. So when you try to come up to stop Barkley, how do you stop the rest of it?
It's tough. Kansas City will probably find a way.
Oh, I'm sure they will. But in all honesty, Chris, based on what we saw against Houston and based on what we saw against Buffalo.
Yeah, you have to make a decision.
Philly, in that Philly game, Washington, I don't think could make a decision. Could they either way? And they just got scorched all day. Like it was almost like they had one toe in the water, one toe out of the water. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to walk into this game deciding what I'm taking. Look, if Belichick is coaching this game against this team, he's going to walk in there and say, okay, what do I got to take? We're taking something away. Who are we taking away in this game? It's going to be Barkley. We're taking Barkley away. We're not going to let this guy beat us. If they're going to beat us, they're going to throw the ball. We're going to see if Hurts can get it done. We're going to see if Hurts can sit in that pocket. We're going to contain him. We're going to a lot of run blitzes. So we fill those gaps so they don't with those wide. That first play of the game, where what's his name? Is it Wagner? Couldn't get over there to make the play because he got caught up instead of deepening out his pursuit angle, whatever. But the point is, Washington just seemed, you're right, that in between. It's like, did they want to stop the run? Were they trying to? Were they going to load the box, 8-man in? Were they going to run blitzes and one to keep? Because you can run blitz to keep Hurts in the pocket and to stop the run, and now force Hurts to sit there and pick you apart.
Yeah, Washington couldn't do it. And on the other side of the ball, Chris, Philadelphia's defense is loaded.
Where are they coming from? Where are those plays coming from, Mark?
Georgia. Anyways, look at Chris. He's so disgusted. So disgusted. And they don't even have your buddy Dean is out. N'Kobe Dean, who goes sideline to sideline in the middle of the field. But Chris, they got
look at their drafts, Mark.
But wait a minute, Chris, they got some good corners. You'd love that kid DeJean last year. He got him in the second round coming out of
Cooper
Iowa.
DeJean. Yeah.
Cooper DeJean, you loved him. And he's just a beast. A beast.
Oh, I liked him. I mean, they're look at their drafts. Devontae Smith, Dickerson, Williams, Davis, Juergens, Dean, Carter, Jalen Carter, the Smith, DeJean. I mean,
the drafts are ridiculous, Chris. Oh, ridiculous. But so defensively, Chris, they turned the ball over a few times on Washington. Daniels didn't play that bad of a game, but that defense, Chris, was too much for Washington.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. So we'll see how they can do against Philly, against Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
We'll break that down next week in detail.
We will. But screw you, Paul. Heated Hotline was presented.
Go back the ball. You can't give the guy a break.
No, I'm not giving him a break. Screw that. Let's see what I want to see if we hear from Paul if Kansas City loses. Let's see if we hear from Paul. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Let's hear.
Heated Hotline was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Maybe we come back. Going to go Pat's preview, talk about the Senior Bowl, and so much more. Stick around.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Back in with more Pat's Nation. Okay, Mark, let's talk about the Senior Bowl. A little bit of draft stuff. Doing a Pat's preview, Joe.
Pat's preview.
Pat's preview. Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go. So we talked a little bit about in our first segment, talking about the front office. You know, Wolf, Groh, Cowden, Cam Williams. These are the guys that seem to be. I mean, we'll take Groh out because he's going to end up, writing contracts, I guess. So, Wolf, Cowden, Williams. So these guys are at the Senior Bowl with Vrabel. So first, we talked a little bit about the overruling because, I mean, if these guys are picking the players, Elliot Wolf, he wants to blame Bill, like we said, because he wanted to take A.J. Brown, but he wanted to N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
Not that. I don't know if Wolf was there at that time.
I don't know if Wolf was there.
But with the thought, no, all the picks.
But Groh was there, Chris, with some of the other guys in that office.
Yeah.
And they supposedly wanted Brown and Samuel.
So let's not forget, this is the guy that picked Jalen Polk over, decided to trade the pick and not take McConkey. Just keep that in mind, okay? So here they are at the Senior Bowl now, okay? And I want to talk about some of the receivers, but, when Joe has it queued up, I also want to talk. Last week you mentioned, okay, you mentioned our draft show about 9 months ago, okay, something like that. Yeah. And we talked about who the receivers are, and I asked you those questions, and you said this.
So I went through this again. I went through all my stuff again in preparation for this show and watched video. And listen, he is the most complete wide receiver in this draft.
Talking about Marvin Harris.
Watching tape on him. I know you say, well, he doesn't have that elite speed, but he has game speed. And he runs away from guys in game speed, Chris, because of his techniques, the way he gets off the line, his identification of what they're actually sitting in, whether it's zone, man, whatever it is, zero look. He identifies it, Chris, at the line. His football IQ is off the chart. By the way, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you because I'm not going to get to him.
What else is new?
I like Brian Thomas, the other LSU receiver, better than Neighbors.
That's saying something.
Just fair. Neighbors, believe it or not, has some of Deebo Samuel qualities that no one's really mentioning. But when you watch tape, he's got some Deebo Samuel qualities. But at some point, we'll talk about all the receivers. But I'm gonna continue your scenario.
Okay, go then.
Listen, the guys you mentioned, Neighbors, Thomas, Adunse from Washington, all these guys are going to be off the board. They're not going to be there 34. The one guy that may be there, but I have a funny feeling he's moving up draft boards. I don't know if he'll last, but if he's there, Chris, I take Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. I love him in that position, Chris. He's a precise route runner. He sets up DBs, okay? He's strong enough to escape jams at the line, which is huge. At the next level, Chris, he's got that strength that you always say, yeah, I don't care if he runs a 4.2. He's never getting off the line. Well, guess what?
No,
this guy's getting off the line.
This is no Thornton right here.
So he has that initial quickness, Chris, off the line of scrimmage and the strength to get free. And you know what I liked about him, Chris, that none of these other guys really do? He's an excellent blocker as well.
I was just.
This is something that, based on what it seems like the Patriots want to run, if they're going to want a variation of what they ran in Cleveland, he's going to have to be, the receiver will have to block. He's an excellent blocker in the running game. He's aggressive, Chris. When it comes to 50-50 balls, he's aggressive.
So,
You had
I mean,
to play
digest that for a minute, Joe. Paul, digest that for a minute, Paulie, out there in Providence.
Paulie, Paulie, go get your shine box, Paulie.
So, yeah. Listen, we keep saying this over and over and
Chris,
over again.
That was us. That was long
It was
before
9
the
months
draft
ago.
happened. Long before the draft happened. But yet, all these experts around here, Chris, when the Chargers came here, they were like, well, we were still okay with Polk because we didn't have McConkey. We didn't have him projected to be that good in the NFL. What the hell were they watching?
I don't know. I mean, I certainly don't watch the combine. What did I say to you during the combine last year?
You were out of your mind when he ran the gauntlet drill. You were like, oh, my God, we have to draft this guy.
So we had it. I'm trying to pat ourselves on. No, yes, we are trying to pat ourselves on the back.
Chris, nobody said he was going to have that great of a season. I loved him, and he basically was one of the top 4 rookies in the league.
You said, I remember it. I like Brian Thomas Jr. better than Neighbors.
Yep. Don't get me wrong. Neighbors is great. But I liked him.
Brian Thomas is going to be better because look what he's got. He's got, not that the Giants have anything either, but Mac Jones.
Mac Jones was throwing to him, yeah.
So there it is. So now taking that. So make sure you people out there are tuning in and paying attention, especially when it comes to free agent time and draft time, because we'll tell you who the hell they should have. Now, Senior Bowl.
We do know what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Joe doesn't seem too impressed, though, does he? He's never impressed. I
think he fell asleep.
Okay. Looking at the Senior Bowl. And there's a couple of guys, talking about X receivers, not the slot receivers. There's a lot of guys out there too, but I don't think we're gonna be drafting one of those, or probably shouldn't. But this Alec, I'm sorry, not him. The Brew McCoy out of Tennessee. I like the fact that he played for Tennessee, by the way. What
position are we looking at now?
X receiver.
Okay.
So vertical threat. He's got a good size and height plus hands. I mean, he's going to be playing, or he played. I mean, it's Sunday now, recorded, but he played yesterday in the Senior Bowl. Is that a guy that you would be looking at in the third, day 3?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those guys.
Chris, yeah, and McCoy's good, but do you think they're going to go after a slot guy because of McDaniels?
Well, then what the hell do they have on the roster?
Or do you think Pop Douglas is a slot guy? Jalen Polk is a slot guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm to this day 3 now. I mean, if they don't take, I know you like the kid from LSU.
I do, and I don't know if he's draft eligible, but I think he is. I like him. The kid I love, Chris, who's not in the Senior Bowl, is Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. I think he's just like Jackson Smith-Njigba. Same everything, same measurables. The kid, if you watch the kid, you're like, oh, is that like it looks just like him? I think he'll be there in the second round. I really, really like him. He's going to be my sleeper. One of my sleepers, this year. But you're right, Chris. The guys you mentioned, if you're going to get taken X, I mean, those are the guys.
Well, another guy that's not getting a lot of play right now. Now, I don't like the school he went to. Okay, Washington State. All right, but this Kyle Williams. All right, he uses his quickness to be a good route runner. And he is a threat after the catch. He'll go. Once he catches the ball, he'll run after. He does a real good job. What I like about him, he recognizes coverages for leverage, okay, and uses his speed to threaten that. So he had 70 catches last year for 1,100, almost 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns.
So he's a player. He's a player.
Well, there at Washington State.
No, that's yeah.
But we're talking about day 3 stuff. No.
Well, a guy, Chris, that I think will be there day 2. For the, if McDaniels looks at the tape, and says these guys can't cut it in the slot. I don't know what you people think. If you're looking at somebody day 2, I like the guy from Ohio State. I already said that. But this kid and again, he's coming from Miami. This kid, Xavier Restrepo, has had like 215 targets, Chris, over 2 years.
Yeah.
The kid is a workhorse. He's exactly what McDaniels would look for in a slot receiver. He's got short area quickness. He's a strong route runner, good hands, ability to catch through contact, toughness. And that's what McDaniels looks for in his slot guys. I don't know if Pop Douglas or Polk have toughness like McDaniels looks for in a slot guy.
Yeah. And you notice what we're saying. We're saying what the coach would like. I mean, because you gotta go with some of that too.
Yes.
Although we really would wish they would just draft a good guy.
Now, Chris, real quick.
Yeah.
On the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
From what Vrabel has said and what his defensive coordinator has said.
Well, by the way, before that, there are a couple of good tackles too. So take a look at the Senior Bowl, the tape of it. You know, Connolly Jr. from Oregon, Easerly from Minnesota. These are guys that you should, 6'4", 6'6". Belton is another guy from North Carolina, long arms. So take a look at those guys at tackle. Just okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, and on the defensive side of the ball, Chris, I think guys like Tavian Bentley are in trouble because Vrabel's defenses in Tennessee were built around smaller linebackers who were quickness at the linebacker position. Is there anybody you think at the Senior Bowl we should be looking at?
Okay.
And listen, we're going to go and do a deep dive in the draft as we get later, closer to it, because there are some real good guys that are at the Senior Bowl, obviously, that are going to be on our board. But, Chris, what do you like at linebacker?
A linebacker or edge?
Edge, either one.
Well, I mean, if we don't get Abdul Carter, if we don't draft him, okay. Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. It's hard to say the name. Izuraku, I believe is how you say it, from Boston College. There's a guy. Those are guys that you can look at. Josh Stewart from Michigan, but they're power rushers, but they can win with speed. Okay. They got high motors, day 2 guys. Okay. If they don't get Carter. Linebackers. Yeah, there's a guy. Okay. Mondon Jr. from Georgia. Okay. Keep this guy in mind. He's a day 3 guy. Okay. And I think he's a steal in day 3. Sideline to sideline, speed, can cover, can rush, can come after the quarterback, can drop. He's got lateral speed. He'll make Tavai and Bentley look like me running. Okay. This is the kind of guy that you want, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I like the kid from Georgia too, Chris. And I'm going to be honest with you. The edge rushers, right? Yeah. If you're looking at an edge rusher, Chris, if you want somebody that, listen, Carter may not be on the board from Penn State, but if you really want a supercharged pass rusher like that, I also like the kid from Ole Miss, Jared Ivey, SEC school.
He'll play. He'll be at the Senior Bowl.
He'll be at the Senior Bowl, and that's why I'm mentioning him. I know he's at the Senior Bowl. He's got real quickness off the edge, Chris. I'm interested to see what he shows at the Senior Bowl.
And even if they pick Carter, it's a good complimentary pick to Carter.
He's a good complimentary pick. So a lot of guys watch the Senior Bowl. We'll talk more about it next week based on what we see.
Absolutely. So good stuff. Stick around because we're going to have a lot more about this, especially with the Combine coming up. But the Pats Nation was presented by Corso and Catone, Saturdays, noon Eastern. Hey, we're going to have B's and C's. We're going to break down the Super Bowl. So stick around for that. Come back next week, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Again, breaking down that Super Bowl. We'll do 2 days of that for our breakdown. Go position by position on free agency. So much more. We are the Pats Nation. See you next Sunday.
See you.